It's Uvalde Radio. I'm Robert Miguel, and I've got a very special guest with me on the phone. Totally excited about the big show. Yes, we've got entertainment, live entertainment. Our theater is going to be open Saturday night at the Uvalde Grand Opera House. They're bringing William Lee Martin. It's going to be a big comedy night at the Opera House. And I guess he calls himself Bill. Bill's on the phone right now. Welcome, sir.
A smattering of applause.
There you go. Hey, one guy, but I make a lot of noise.
Well, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And let me say this. Let me start off by saying this. Thank you so much for just doing what you do. You know, it's been a rough year for the most part. People are down, man. Tensions are high, concerns are high. And I'm telling you, laughter really is the best cure we got since there's no vaccine. And just thank you so much for taking the time and the risk. You know, there's an inherent risk just getting out on the road. So thank you for doing what you do. And we're excited that you're going to share your joy with Uvalde County.
Well, we're really looking forward to it. You know, I've always loved the area. And, I guess since March, we've been shut down. In the last couple of weeks, we started working back at, doing theaters across. We just did Oklahoma and the Ponkin Theater, and we made sure that, folks are spread out, and the theater there in Uvalde has really taking the extra steps to make sure that everybody's, spaced out and taking the extra precautions. But you're right. People need a laugh. If we've learned anything over the last 4 months, is that America certainly needs some, for the lack of a better word, distractions of just how everyday life is, and there's a lot of anger that's going on, and that's why, I think that while we've been deemed non-essential to some folks, I think the evidence shows that humans need interaction and laughter, and that's what we're going to bring on Saturday.
And we're totally excited about it. Now, the name of your tour here is the Open for Business Tour. Now, is that a direct reference to what we're going through now, or was that already kind of a name you picked out for the year?
No, it was the Middle-Aged Crazy Tour, and that, we had 14 tour dates canceled. We've just in November and December, we released two new specials, 1-hour specials on Amazon Prime, and we were really ramping up to go out on the 14th was when we started our theater tour, and it was called the Middle-Aged Crazy Tour. And now that now it's thank God we can do a show tour. So we decided to go with Open for Business. But so it's just it really is to get that on the poster so people realize that that we're going back out there. So
it's kind of tough because even marketing something now, with there's so much, I want to say, misinformation, and what I mean is, you might see an advertisement on Facebook or Twitter or something, and that might just be an old ad, and that show might have been canceled weeks ago, but because life is so crazy, almost like an Open for Business tour title makes sense in that it's saying, hey, we're doing this, Well,
we have to let folks know, and I think we're down to, I think a lot of folks have already bought tickets, and I think there's down to just a few tickets left.
Yeah.
So, I think people are really wanting to get out of the house. If you don't feel comfortable to do that, then don't come out.
Yeah.
For those who want to come out and laugh, and I don't work dirty, so it's not going to be a dirty show. If that's into your thing, that's cool. I used to work like that for a long, long time. But for the last 3 or 4 years, we've gone back to working squeaky clean. Not squeaky clean, but clean.
Yeah.
So it's adult humor without the adult language, really.
Yeah.
So there is some, booze talk and some grown-up stuff. So it's a fun show. It's gotten great reviews all over the country before we shut down, and now we're coming to Uvalde, of all places.
Well, you mentioned, the content of your show, like you said, adult humor, but not the adult language. I think a good way to compare it is kind of like country music radio. You're going to hear about loving, you're going to hear about liquor, you're going to hear about hangovers and drinking too much and messing around on your woman. But, there's no curse words. We still love God and our country. And I think that, so if you like your average, Alan Jackson, George Strait, Luke Bryan lyric, you're going to love this guy. So.
Well, it's we've had so much fun with the tour and the new 2 specials that came out. One's called The Nutcracker, and that's based on my vasectomy, but it's a Christmas show.
Right.
So I've had a lot of fun. I've been doing this for 24 years, and some guy the other day on a radio interview called me an overnight success story, and I was like, well, brother, I've been out here for a long time.
Right. Wow, that's great. But at some point, though, it popped, right? And what would you say that defining moment was where, I'm sure for a long time, you're just kind of making that steady rise. But at some point, I think you wake up, this happened to me, at least in radio, where I realized, well, you know what, I'm not struggling. I'm doing good. I'm okay. Was there a moment for that, like that for you?
Well, I've been headlining clubs across the country for 21 of my 24 years, and really for me, not to get too philosophical, but one day I changed back to my real name. So for 15 years, I toured under a nickname my grandfather gave me at birth, which was Cowboy Bill. Mm-hmm. His name was William Lee. My name is William Lee. He didn't want me to be called Little Bill like he was. He said he'll hate the name of the grown-up. Call that boy Cowboy Bill. I was actually named after Cowboy Bill Watts, the old wrestler back in the 60s, right? And so about 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago, right after I had a CMT special come out, a 1-hour special. And it had all the adult language in it and everything else. And it did real well. I mean, real well. They were excited. I was excited. But it just felt like something was missing, And then I decided I was just going to change back to my original name. I thought, Cowboy Bill sounded like a character to people, and it's not. It wasn't anything that I created. It's something that I came up with, but I felt like audiences wasn't coming to it. Some people would come to it, but some people didn't want to go to it at all. And so I changed back to my name, but I was still doing the act the same way. And then one day, I'm just mowing the grass, and I was like, Lord, why can't I grab the brass ring? What you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. When did you feel the change? So I said, why can't I grab the brass ring? And just as I'm talking to you, the voice in my head said, listen, I let you go do a cruise ship for 7 years, and you could change anything about yourself, and the only thing you were willing to change was your name, and you wanted me to work a miracle. You're waiting on me, I'm waiting on you. So I just made wholesale changes to the act, and then I felt like I had made it in my mind. So financially it hadn't changed at all, but by made it, I mean I felt satisfied with who I was on and off stage. Because, I'm a father of 5, and now I got 4 grandsons, and I don't talk that way at home, so it all kind of came together. So the success, financially and otherwise, it's been there for a long time, but that satisfaction came much, much, much later.
Well, that is a remarkable story and kind of bordering on a testimony. So you know what? Praise God. Again, we're talking to William Lee Martin. He's going to be doing a big show this Saturday at the Uvalde Grand Opera House. There are tickets. There are VIP experiences. It's going to be a great time. Social distancing will be in effect. So get ready for that. Don't feel threatened. It'll be a good time. But, okay, William, I got to say this, man. You mentioned your family, a bunch of kids, some grandkids now, and they are a pretty focal point of your act. So tell me, is there anything with the wife or the kids that they say, hey, this is off limits? You cannot talk about this, or is it just, or you just put your life out there?
No, we just, they've all grown up with it, so they know that if it happens in the house, there's a good chance it's going to happen on the stage. So, no, that's what's paid for their house and their schooling and everything else. It's the deal they've made with the devil.
Well, tell me this. I mean, do they ever bring material to you? Like, hey, you're not there, they're out of town, they live somewhere else, but they're, oh, hey, Dad, you got to use this. This is great. Or, do you guys collaborate? And tell me this. How much of the material is legit 100% true versus kind of, tall tales?
Well, on my entire act, I can't say is based on things that's happened to me. That's why when fans walk up and go, hey, man, I got something that'd be funny in your show, it doesn't fit because it truly has to happen to me. And, or the family, just within my circle. I have to have witnessed it to be part of the act. Mm-hmm. So it's always made it that observation. But my wife is she's a corporate trainer, not really funny job in itself, but she's always been the great ear. I talked to Jim Gaffigan one time, and his wife writes a lot of his stuff with him and for him. And with my wife, all I'll do is pass, the bit or the whatever I've come up with, the story. And if she goes, yeah, that's funny, then I know it's funny. Huh. Because she won't laugh at all. She'll go, yeah, that's funny. So I do have the benefit of having her and my only son. Both of them have a great ear for comedy, so they can tell me if they think it's funny, and usually the bit works.
That's awesome, man. Well, you mentioned Jim Gaffigan, who's one of the more premier, clean comedians. So it makes sense that you bring him up and that you would, have talked with him about things. But are there any other of your contemporaries or even, comedians from yesterday that you really admire or that, that you were influences? Well,
I dig a lot of guys that are out there now, some of the newer guys. But, coming up, obviously prior, Eddie Murphy, I was a big fan of, now it's taboo to even say, but I was a huge Bill Cosby fan. Mm-hmm. And, it's strange how that whole story played out 25 years later. But, the fact that there's a lot of great guys. And I'm bringing a great guy, too. There's the opening act is a guy named John Brown. Oh, okay. And he's one of the funniest new comics out there, and he's got some stuff that is just really. He's going to be a big star. So it's nice to catch him at this stage of his career.
Well, man, we're excited about the show. Again, we're talking to William Lee Martin. The show is Saturday night at the Uvalde Grand Opera House. Again, get your tickets at uvaldeoperahouse.org. Now, Bill, you are a smart guy. Your kind of thing is kind of the smart alecky, cowboy kind of. You kind of got that southern. You could even call it redneck thing. I guess some people might liken you to one of the blue collar type of things, but that's not really. I mean, you're kind of one of them bright, college educated kind of guys, right? I mean, so. What's it like being the smart redneck, if that makes any sense, as opposed to, like I said, the blue collar guys who kind of do their whole bit on something that's kind of white trashy?
Right. All I know is that the greatest advice that I've ever heard was from Carl Reiner, the late great Carl Reiner, who said, "Write what you know." Mm-hmm. And I didn't grow up in a trailer, but I have two sides of my sides of my family. I got my dad's side; they're ranchers, they're educated. Mm-hmm. You'll get with them and they'll talk about politics, economics, and world affairs. And then I got my mama's side of the family, and around that group, you'll hear discussions of government cheese, time in the pen, and the high price of cigarettes.
Right.
So I have that influence on both sides, and I try to write about what I know, and it seems to resonate with folks. And I was actually the fifth guy signed with the same management team of the Blue Collar back in 2000, mm-hmm. and they hired me to pinch hit. So if somebody couldn't make it on tour, I was the guy. And then it just took off. It just exploded, and they never needed me again. And but they those guys are great. And Jeff writes, some of the so many people know him from You Might Be a Redneck, mm-hmm. But he never is given the credit that he deserves on all of his relationship material. So all those guys are great guys. I still to Bill every once in a while, and especially through Facebook, and he's got a great thing on Sundays called Sunday Mornings with Bill Engvall. So if you're on Facebook, go check it out and tell him that Cowboy Bill says hi.
Now, you bring up Facebook, and I got to say this. I mean, you have a really good, strong online presence and following. I know you do those 4 o'clock things, and you're really communicative with your fans. So I appreciate you doing this radio interview because, honestly, we're in 2020. The direct connection between you and your fans is really easy. You don't necessarily have to do radio interviews to get your message out there. But tell me how, and you're old enough to be old school if you wanted to be, but you choose to embrace technology. How much has that kind of affected what you do?
Well, we do the deal called the 4 o'clock Daily Talk, and y'all, and it's on my Facebook. You folks can get it at facebook.com/comedian William Lee Martin. And I'm on there every day at 4 o'clock, and sometimes it's motivational, sometimes it's observational, sometimes it's just what's happened in the day. And at first, my manager, my marketing team, we have those folks in place, and and they were like, you got to go live, and I never would. I'm like, what would I say? And exactly, how am I going to fill 5 minutes, much less? They wanted me to do 15 to 30 minutes, just to go live. And then this whole thing happened, and I just flipped on the lights, flipped on the computer, and I just talked and tried to stay as positive, because I realized at some point, and I wish a lot of other quote unquote celebrities would realize, that people aren't looking for me to give a solution. I'm not there to help anybody figure out if you should wear a mask or what the numbers are or anything else. I'm there merely to remind you that life is still can have laughter in it, and that's the gift that I was given by God. So that's what we try to bring to it. So I try to stay real positive and upbeat. I mean, you don't need to hear me complain about anything else. And I wish folks would realize that just because you have a platform don't mean that you always have to take the platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we try to be real positive and upbeat with it. It's I turned out to be very therapeutic for me as well, because I get frustrated with everything going on, and but if you can help lift people up, you'd be surprised how you're lifted as well.
Well, very good, man. Again, we've been talking to William Lee Martin. The show is Saturday at the Uvalde Grand Opera House. One final question before I let you get on your way. But, you're coming down here to Uvalde County. You're going to be right there at the Crossroads of America in our beautiful historic opera house, apparently like second oldest functioning opera house in the great state of Texas, and been around since 1891. I'm sure you've done a little research on it. Have you been through Uvalde before, and what's your experience in our county?
Well, my daughter went to school in Alpine. So every once in a while we would get lost, and you have to want to come to
get lost. You got that right.
You're either lost or you're running from something. So you're either running to or from something. There's Uvalde. So we'll be running to something.
Well, very good. Well, man, I hope you can stick around a while and enjoy some good Tex-Mex and, just get a good look at the theater. It really is kind of our crown jewel. And we're just excited you're coming down here. So what's the itinerary looking like for the tour? Where are you going to be coming from and where are you going after?
Well, with the schedule change, I was supposed to be in Dallas on the 7th, Friday night, and that got pushed to October because the venues in Dallas are completely closed.
Yeah.
So we're going to do Uvalde, and then we're going to drive back home to north of Fort Worth, a place called Newark, Texas. And then next week we are in Granbury, and the first show is sold out, so we added a 3 p.m. show. And we'll just keep taking what the good Lord gives us, and be thankful for what we got and not what we ain't got.
Well, very good, man. Now tell us, finally, night of the show, you're going to have, I'm sure you're going to have CDs and merch. Give us an idea of what kind of pocket change to bring so we can support what you do.
Well, we have new hats, because I sport a new mustache now.
All right. We're
calling next year's tour the Laugh and Stash Tour. So when we get back to normal, and then we're going to have everything. We'll have masks with a little mustache on it.
Oh, nice.
I figured if you can't argue with the government, you might as well go ahead and try to make some masks. So we'll have masks, we'll have hats, We'll have T-shirts. We'll have DVDs. You know, so come with money, or if you got a credit card, we have one of those machines too.
Right on. Well, man, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, William. We're excited that you're coming to town again to a little old Uvalde to entertain us with your class act. So, I guess, the website is what, WilliamLeeMartin.com, or is it something like that, or?
It is. All right. It is. WilliamLeeMartin.com. That's, pretty straightforward. And y'all come out and see the show and enjoy it. And I certainly appreciate you having me on and everything else, but it's a good 2-hour buck gusting fun. So come out and bring a date. And if your grandma likes to drink beer, she's gonna like the show too.
Oh, right on. Yeah, they're gonna have like half price drinks at the bar before. If you get there early, so that's another little perk there. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. Now I know what time I need to be there.
Well, man. Well, Mr. Martin, Bill, it's been awesome talking to you, and I cannot wait to see your show Saturday night. Okay. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, pal. Bye-bye.
That's going to wrap it up here on Uvalde Radio with William Lee Martin.